Hello, once again, listeners and viewers, to Rising Above Shadows of Abuse, or Raza. I'm your host, Grace Papa. This is from BBC News by Francisca Osmond, dated 18th of May 2025. Lucy, not her real name, was just 13 years old when she met her ex-boyfriend online. The start of their relationship was like something out of a rom-com or romance novel. Within 2 weeks of first contacting him and adding him on social media, he was telling me he loved me, she said. At the time, I didn't know that's not necessarily normal for relationships. She recalled how in the flick of a switch, his personality had become very dark, physically abusive and controlling. He was just very angry, very possessive. She said, he had access to all my social media, all my passwords, all my logins. If people would message me and I was at school, they would message them back and then delete the chat so I couldn't see it. Lucy says she was not allowed to see family or friends and was isolated from everybody she knew and trusted. I thought it was normal because he was my first proper boyfriend, she said. Currently, the abuser and the victim must both be over 16 to meet the legal definition of domestic abuse. While children living in abusive homes are legally recognized as victims of domestic abuse in their own right, this does not extend to under 16s in abusive relationships. Abusive partners can still be charged with a variety of criminal offenses, but is not classified as domestic abuse. This is something campaigners and some domestic abuse charities want to change. Next, Link, which provides domestic abuse support services in Bristol, South Gloucestershire, and North Somerset, says it is seeing an increase in young people becoming victims of domestic abuse by boys of the same age. Chief Executive Sarah O'Leary is concerned social media and other online content are fueling abusive behavior and being used as a toolbox on how to control women. We know there's been a rise in online misogyny and encouraging young men to act out like misogynistic values, she said. Much of the pornography that boys will view is violent towards women and girls. I do think a lot of the boys are witnessing that online and are being radicalized. She is concerned this is not being recognized as abuse by the young victims involved and rather seen as part of a normal relationship. As part of the implementing the Online Safety Act, Ofcom has now finalized a series of child safety rules which will come into force for social media, search and gaming apps and websites on 25th of July. It says the rules will prevent young people from encountering the most harmful content, including pornography, and are designed to protect children from misogynistic, violent, hateful, or abusive material. Lucy said she has seen firsthand how that online world could become real life with her ex-boyfriend watching pornography daily. She said, I personally think that it made his behavior and opinion of sex very aggressive and violent. He also used apps to track her location. I didn't realize that wasn't normal, she said. He would say things like, I don't want you to get hurt or get kidnapped, so you need to have your location on for me so I can see where you are. She said if she did not answer the phone immediately to him, he would verbally abuse and shout at her. Deputy Chief Constable Cathy Barrow-Grint of Gloucestershire Police said cases at Lucy's were not uncommon. Most weeks there will be cases presented to us where there are teenagers who are boyfriend and girlfriend, where there is physical or sexual violence, which could be classified as domestic abuse if they were over 16, she said. Ms. Barrow-Grint is keen to stress that crimes involving young people will always be investigated, even if an offense is not legally classified as domestic abuse. A survey carried out by the Youth Endowment Fund in 2024 reveals nearly half of all teenage children who have been in a relationship had experienced violent or controlling behaviors from a partner. The charity, which was given £200 million by the Home Office to fund and evaluate anti-violent projects, asked more than 10,000 children aged 13 to 17 in England and Wales about their experiences. At the time, Jess Phillips, Minister for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women and Girls, described the survey results as heartbreaking and deeply concerning. The issues around the age that domestic abuse victims are recognized by law was raised in the House of Commons in January, following a campaign by the family of murdered 15-year-old Holly Newton. Holly was repeatedly stabbed in an alley in Hexham, Northumberland, by her ex-boyfriend Logan MacPhail after she ended their relationship, McFarrell, then age 16, had become controlling and was stalking Holly, sending texts and phone calls up to 40 times a day. In a statement provided to the BBC, a Home Office spokesperson said that the government is determined to root out abuse as part of its mission to halve violence against women and girls in a decade. We are considering every option to fundamentally transform the system and address these issues head on, and that includes everything from supporting victims to looking at whether we need to change the law, they added. Gloucestershire Police is now working with the Home Office on a pilot project looking at potential changes in the law. What we will do here is flag anything that comes to us that appears to be domestic abuse involving young people, she said. We're going to talk to young people about their experiences. One of the potential activities that could happen is lowering the age at which domestic abuse is recognized. But the evidence base that we are collecting here in Gloucestershire will help with the discussions around that. For Ms. O'Leary, a change in the law cannot come soon enough to prevent younger victims falling through the gaps. My fear is that by not having them classed as domestic victims, we are not understanding the pattern of coercive and controlling behavior, and instead viewing them as single incident or linked in with bullying, knife crime, or serious violence, she said. As well as reviewing the age at which domestic violence can be recognized, there are also calls for more education around healthy relationships. Debbie Bridle is chief executive of the Wiltshire-based charity Fear Free, which supports more than 10,000 adults and child victims every year across Southwest. I don't think we just should rely on laws, she said. I think there is a danger in criminalizing children, and ultimately, what we should be looking at is early intervention and education around what a healthy relationship is. It's about looking at the messaging that our young people are getting on social media, through the games they're playing, the conversations they are having at schools. Ms. Biddle feels professionals and parents need to overcome the fear of having open conversations with children. I do think sometimes we are still trapped in not wanting to talk about it because they are children and we shouldn't be talking about this, and that's not helping, she said. Lucy agrees that education around abuse in teenage relationships needs to be improved. I didn't understand any of it. They don't talk you through it at school. You just don't hear about child abuse, she said. We hear about it between parents or older people. I didn't really know much about domestic abuse until I experienced it myself, she said. This was partly why she wanted to share her story and help others understand that abuse can happen at any age. Listeners and viewers, what do you think about this newsreel? Kindly leave your comments via email address risingaboutshadowsofabuse@gmail.com. Thank you.